Hi, my name is Luciano Narcisi. I am Research Director at ARC, and I am here with Adelina Walth from Siemens to talk about lifecycle services for distributed control systems. I was thinking first to have a short introduction of yourself. Could you share what is your role in Siemens and how you are related with this topic?
I'm a marketing manager at Digital Industries Customer Services, specifically for process automation services. And basically the topics that I focus on are IT/OT convergence, also managed security services, and as you mentioned already, what we're going to talk about today, DCS Lifecycle services. And I'm happy to share some insights about that today.
Sure. So let's start with the challenge in the industry. So in ARC, what we see is that more and more companies are evolving in the digital transformation journey. So they want to get their plant more connected. They want to increase the level of automation. But as you know, this comes with new challenges. So for example, the first thing is that the system architecture, it becomes more challenging because you're adding layers, you are adding components to it. You have brownfield plants that they have to deal with these legacy systems that have been there for decades without any updates. And of course, as you get your plant more connected, then it's increasing the risk related to cybersecurity. So what is your view on this? I was wondering, how can the life cycle services help clients to overcome these challenges?
This is a really good point. I totally agree. We also see these kinds of challenges with our customers or in the industry generally. And we have two perspectives on this at Siemens. Okay. Of course, we are an automation system supplier. We provide different products for communication systems. We provide control systems, monitoring systems. And one of these is the Simatic PCS7 process control system. And there's also this more innovative system, PCS Neo. And this is one side of the story. And as you said, it can be quite challenging nowadays. Things are changing so quickly. And there's also what we see often, of course, that there's a really scarcity of skilled resources to manage all of this. Managing all of the activities around this, as you mentioned, legacy systems, obsolescence, for example, all of these things, cybersecurity. This can be quite challenging to do by yourself. So this is why, on the other hand, we not only provide products, but also the services for that. This is where basically our lifecycle services come in, and specifically our lifecycle service contracts for DCS. And with these contracts, we basically address exactly those challenges. And not only the challenges itself, but we know there's also different requirements in the industry. Like you certainly know the NAMUR NE 121 recommendations. It's all about the quality assurance of control systems. And it also has a strong focus on, for example, investment protection and also cost planability. These are also points that we address with our services. And if we go in the direction of cybersecurity again, there's also standards like IEC 62443, for example. To sum it up, we look at this holistically. We take into account different setups that the customer might have, different architectures. Just to give you an example, usually a customer doesn't just have a DCS, right? It's connected to a manufacturing execution system. If we look at pharma customers, that's connected to their DCS, or even the connection to ERP systems. So to manage all of that holistically, this is what we do with our contracts. We really try to tailor our contracts exactly to the customer requirements, to their setup, to their needs, and we basically help them by managing their obsolescence, their spare parts, their cybersecurity risks. And providing like a holistic concepts to protect their investment, to protect the product that they bought from us, in this case, the distributed control system.
Let's think on one example. So imagine we have a brownfield plant. They want to start their digital transformation journey. They want to automate their processes. So what will be the very first step that Siemens will take with these kind of companies?
If we look at a brownfield plant that already has a Simatic PCS 7 system running, we actually have to take some steps before we can do a contract, because we can only do a lifecycle service contract with the most up-to-date hardware and software. And that means that we first need to do a detailed check of all the components, of all the Siemens components in the plant, in the system. That can be like OS servers, that can be clients, switches, all these different components. And we really do a detailed check to see what's the status of each component, and also what's the serviceability, the general serviceability of each component. Then, to specifically prepare for a lifecycle service contract, we do on top of that lifecycle conformance check.
Okay.
So we need to do this to ensure that we have a holistic picture of the plant and the system, and that we kind of capture this for future reference, but also use this as a basis to define all the different contract parameters. And this is, for example, also if we see, okay, the system is not up to date, there are certain things that need to be changed first, then this is something that needs to be considered before we do such a contract, right?
I like to think on a brownfield plant, because I believe that when we are talking about a transformation, implementing new technologies, those are the most complex cases. Yeah. So, what do you think are the most common outcomes from these audits when you are approaching a brownfield plant?
Like in a report, it comes up as, for example, a critical issue that needs to be resolved, or like an important issue that needs to be tackled. Some examples are that some licenses are not up to date. For example, this can become an issue in the future. This needs to be taken care of. Then, for example, something that also happens is that virus and threat detection programs are not up to date, or are not correctly set up. This is also a big problem, right? Also things like synchronization problems that can happen, and it just, after doing an audit, you realize that there are some issues there, and this can create also problems for the archiving, for the databases, and so on. So these are all kinds of issues that, after really doing a detailed check into all of the configurations, the whole architecture, you find those things and you need to resolve it.
So what are the very first recommendations from Siemens after these outcomes are found?
Yeah, basically in this detailed report that you get after an audit, you have really detailed step-by-step overview of all the components that were checked, and for each component that was checked, there's a detailed recommendation if an issue has been found. Yeah, it can be in the case of, as I mentioned, if there's not
license updates, or
exactly, updating the licenses, or also implementing the right virus and threat detection, or also resolving those issues of synchronization.
Training the people also, I can maybe training the clients with a new technology or with new threats. So I can I think that's so. If there is a company that they don't have the right maturity level, so you need to help them to increase their knowledge. Is this also included in the first steps?
I wouldn't say in the first steps, but for example, this is definitely part of a contract that we also train the operators. That this can also be included in a lifecycle service contract to do trainings, and yeah.
Okay, so I can imagine that no client is the same, no plant is the same, because you will find different level of maturities, as we were talking. Also, they might have different vision, different roadmaps in their digital transformation journey. So how do you adapt your service to each case so you can fulfill the requirements from each of these clients?
Basically, we have this approach of doing modular and flexible services. So we can, I would say, package the services into different modules, and there are some, let's say, standard modules or like typical modules, to say so. That like customers usually get. If we look at the short term, if a customer only requires like some minimal support, then we can offer some standard services. This includes, for example, on-call or repair services, also online technical support, and like some corrective maintenance, some basic activities like that where we can support the customer. And this can be a short-term contract or however long the customer needs it. And on top of that, we can then also offer more services, for example, for a maintenance package. So on top of that, we would also do inspection and maintenance to kind of keep the plant at the agreed level. And do some activities like updates or exchanging some spare parts and so on. Then if we go one step further, then we already get to like a basic lifecycle service package where we also do obsolescence management. So this includes also like the assurance of spare parts availability and also spare parts provision. Basically also having regular updates about the obsolescence, about the spare parts concept and so on. And then like the biggest package, I would say, is the extended lifecycle service contract. This is more of a, I would say, long-term contract. It starts from 5 years and can go up to 15 years.
Okay.
And this is really a comprehensive service package, I would say. So this includes also modernizations and updates. And this is exactly what you mentioned. Also, like, it's for some customers, they want to keep their system up to date, and maybe have an old system. And this is exactly what we can plan into the contract to have like regular incremental updates and upgrades over the duration, whatever it is, 10 years, 15 years. And it's kind of a holistic approach covering all kinds of services. And this is not the only things that we can adjust, I would say. This is not the only flexibility. Of course, a plant is always changing. It's always evolving, growing, and our contract basically grows together with the customer plant. So we can, of course, adjust the different service contents over the time. If the customer needs some other services, we can include that. Or also from the technical side to include more components and so on. So this is definitely something that we do. And we're also flexible in another sense. I would say if a customer just requires one-time maintenance, let's say, for a specific thing, then we can also do kind of subcontracts for that. So we always offer the right services which the customer requires.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. So I'm just thinking on the 15 years contract. To be honest, the only experience I have with 15-year contract is with my wife. But professionally, all the contracts that I've been involved are 2 years, 4 years. So I'm just thinking, how do you keep a healthy relation with the clients over 15 years? How do you ensure that you are fulfilling their expectations within the limits of the contracts, for example? What can you share about that?
Yeah, so I think one very big part in this is definitely that before we do the contract, we really have, or we create a very detailed roadmap for the entire duration of the contract. So if it's, let's say, 15 years, then we already plan out at the start a detailed roadmap with all the activities that will take place from Siemens' side and also which are planned from the customer side. Yeah. That means we have a really kind of, you can say, a time schedule with all the different activities, and this kind of provides some basis, I would say, where the customer can plan and also we can plan together. For example, when we include modernizations, this is also part of this roadmap, and this kind of gives some type of peace of mind for the customer. He can plan over this whole duration. He doesn't have to worry about who will do the maintenance, who will do the modernizations, when will I do it, and so on. And the second part that I think is very important is also that the customer gets a dedicated contract manager. He has this central point of contact throughout the entire contract duration. And this contract manager manages all of the activities and also is kind of the intermediary between the customer and also all the other parties that have contractual obligations. And he kind of coordinates all of the activities. I
can imagine this is a key person, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
So what do you think are the main benefits that the client perceives from these long-term contracts?
Yeah, so in the end, it's a partnership, right? And the customer really gets a long-term investment protection from this kind of contract. It's not just to keep the plant up to date, keep the plant running, but it's also to keep it secure. So we support with the compliance, with cybersecurity, and very important, of course, system availability. That's one of the main parts. Like throughout the entire contract, we make sure that the system is available, that it's running, that it's up to date. And another important point is, of course, also the cost aspect. If we look at total cost of ownership, this is also an important point, an important benefit for the customers, because the customer gets a planability of his costs. He can plan it throughout, if it's a long-term contract, up to 10, 15 years. And due to this detailed roadmap that we have, the costs, they're planned over the contract term and there are no spikes. Also, if we look at, for example, maintenance, if we do it regularly, if we do it proactively, then we don't have any unexpected downtimes that could also lead to unexpected costs.
So there is less uncertainty for the client.
Exactly. Huh? So in the end, the customer gets peace of mind. He doesn't have to take care of this huge thing all by himself. He gets the necessary and right support depending on his needs and depending on how much he wants us to support.
So you mentioned modernization quite a couple of times already, and I can understand that with a 15-year contract, you really need to think on this. So how is Siemens helping clients to get their system up to date, but without affecting the uptime, so minimizing the downtime of the plant and without affecting maybe the reliability of the systems. So how do you guys support the client on this?
This is an important point. And regarding modernizations, it's basically planned into this whole roadmap with all the activities. And this means that regarding the downtime part, we actually in this roadmap already plan for all the activities. So we also know, okay, the customer, he's planning to schedule downtime for some other aspects, and we can use this time frame to also then plan in the modernization.
So you coincide with these activities?
This way we don't have any extra downtime, right? We can make use of this and plan smartly, I would say, and efficiently, that it works out the best way for the customer in the end. And another point about modernizations is actually that we do it in increments of 5 years.
Okay.
And the reason for this is actually that the hardware is only supported for 5 years. And after that, we don't have any more software updates, or it's not supported anymore. And this is why we have this cycle of doing modernizations and planning for modernizations every 5 years.
I would like to close with what do you think about the upcoming future? So I see that Siemens is promoting a lot the application of AI in the industry. So I was wondering, how do you see AI affecting the lifecycle services in the upcoming years?
AI is a very hot topic. Everybody's talking about it, and it's an important, very important topic. And where we can see how AI can also affect our service contracts is, for example, if we look at process optimization. You see things like tickets or spare parts management. This is something that can be enhanced or made more faster or efficiently with AI, with the help of AI. And if we can use that to make processes more efficient, this in the end will also make things much better, much faster for the customer. And another thing is, for example, predictive maintenance. This is also something, if we look at the vast amounts of data that is generated in the systems, there's so much potential for this to be analyzed. There are so many log files created. And this data, if we analyze it with the help of AI, we can then use those insights also to improve or to enrich our service activities, to do predictive maintenance and perform activities. And we can notice through the patterns, for example, that there's some issue coming up, and before it has an impact, we can already go and remediate it. So this is just a couple of ideas, I would say, that we can see for the future development and how the services can definitely become more, even better.
I think AI is a good example of how things are changing quite fast. And this is why, while I was hearing you, I understand how important our lifecycle services. Actually, they are already relevant when we analyze the market around DCS, for example. According to our estimations, the services have the biggest share when we compare to the hardware and the software. And I can imagine that this will increase considering how fast things are changing and how important it becomes. So, any last reflection on this, on what we have been discussing?
The lifecycle service contracts for DCS, they are really helping customers not only to keep their system available, not only to have reliable operations, but to keep their system up to date, to always have a state-of-the-art system, and also to be forward-looking, to be future-oriented and innovative, to kind of integrate those technological advancements, to also, if we look at cybersecurity again, it's a very important topic. And the threat landscape is changing so fast, just to touch on this point again. And it's important to stay up to date to be future oriented and innovative, and this is exactly what we do with our lifecycle service contracts, and with Siemens as a partner by your side, basically.
So, Adelina, thank you for your time, and thanks everyone for joining, and we stay tuned.